Roll call, please.
Covert.
Here.
Crowner.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Lees. Here. Young.
Here.
Okay, on our agenda this evening, unless we have an objection, I'm going to make some changes. For our community report, the Honorable Matt Rinker has another engagement that he needs to go to, so we would move his community report ahead of the administrator. Item number 1 under new business, that's been rescheduled for November 5th. And I would like to move number 5 up to number 1 spot because of the time consideration also.
So moved with amendments. Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. We go to our consent agenda.
Motion approved is presented. Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right, so Mr. Rinker,
Good evening. Appreciate you willing to let me move up a little bit earlier in the meeting. I have a 6:30, so I apologize for trying to get everything squeezed in, but my hope was to be able to give council an opportunity to ask a couple questions if we could. So I'll do my best not to take the amount of time I took the other day with the Burlington City Council. I got a little long-winded, but if you have questions throughout this process, or if there's things that you want to discuss that I hit on, don't hesitate to stop me. So again, my name is Matt Rinker. I am the Iowa House Representative for District 99, which includes cities of Burlington, West Burlington, Danville, down into Weaver, and all the places in between. The 2025, so one of the things that I like to do is come and talk to local elected boards and committees, nonprofit groups, just to really have a good dialogue about the things that took place during the last legislative agenda. I was here last year, I was here the year before, and I'll be here next year and hopefully for many years into the future. Last year, the legislative session started on January 13th. We went sine die, which is the term that we use for ending, on May 15th. So we went a little bit past our allotted time. This year, my committee appointments were labor and workforce, which was new to me, public safety, which I had served on in years past, veterans affairs, which was another committee that I've served on in the past. And then prior to the session, I met with Speaker Grassley and asked for an opportunity to serve on the HHS Appropriations Subcommittee. The reason for that was because mental health is something that has been important to me. It's something that I've campaigned on. It's something I've gotten a lot of feedback on from constituents in the district. And the best way to positively impact the state of mental health and mental health appropriations in this state is to serve on the Appropriations Committee that oversees that. So HHS appropriations ultimately touches the $2.4 billion that the state of Iowa spends on Medicaid, Department of Veterans Affairs, child support services, behavioral and public health, and family and hospital payment programs. So very big program. There's a lots of moving pieces. It's something I'm still learning a lot about, but I'm excited that the speaker is willing to give me that assignment, and I look forward to serving on that in the future. I'm going to talk a little bit about the bills that I filed, worked on personally. I'm going to talk about some of the things that the legislature as a whole did, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about what I kind of think is on the landscape for the upcoming session. So last year, I filed a number of bills. The first was House File 52. As many of you probably remember, last year we had a gentleman in the community assault a referee. House File 52 enhanced the penalties for people who assault referees. It's something that's actually been discussed a number of times in the legislative body. Senator Jeff Reichman ran the same bill in the Senate that I did in the House. Made great progress. We were able to get it out of committee. We were able to get it to full committee to get good dialogue out of it. We've got some things we got to clean up in the next legislative session, but we'll hope to make good progress on that in the future. Why is that important? Well, at the end of the day, we're talking about fitness, we're talking about healthy young people, and one of the requirements to being able to have sports in schools is you have to have referees that are willing to volunteer their time and serve to officiate those events. There's been a significant decline in the number of people willing to do that. And one of the reasons that we get is because of the volatility and a lot of the things that happen with parents or on the sidelines when they make a call that somebody doesn't agree with. And unfortunately, sometimes those things become physical, as they did here just last year, where a referee was severely assaulted at, I think it was Edward Stone Middle School in the middle school basketball game. So again, looking to use that as a tool to give law enforcement an opportunity to put some teeth behind the events like that that take place. House File 55 was an increased penalties for felons who carry firearms. This is something that I actually ran on both times that I've run for the Iowa House. It's something that I got from my local police chief when I was serving on the Burlington City Council. And ultimately, if you can remember back 2016, 2017, we had a lot of violent crime going on here in Southeast Iowa. Not just Burlington, but throughout the corridor. And that violent crime typically involved a firearm, and in most circumstances involved someone who was a felon being in possession of a firearm. I can remember a circumstance where a couple people decided they were going to shoot it out over on Central Street in broad daylight using semi-automatic weapons. Just a terrible situation. And the feedback that I got from law enforcement at that time was, these are the same people we're constantly dealing with. We arrest them, they plead, or they're convicted of their crime, they're put into the Department of Corrections, and then on good time, they're typically out in a year, maybe two, and then they have a firearm again. And they're continuously putting not only the public, but law enforcement, their safety at risk. So what I proposed was having an increased penalty each step of the way that you're convicted of being in possession of a firearm. In certain circumstances, we had people who had been convicted 3, 4, 5 times, and they were consistently being churned by the system. This bill basically said that if you're convicted of being a felon in possession of a firearm, you're going to serve a minimum of 2 years in prison for the first offense, 4 years for the second offense, 7 years for the third offense, and 10 years for a fourth offense. It's a great enhancement to the penalties on that. It's something that the Iowa Sheriff's Association was heavily in favor of. Our law enforcement actually commented when we passed the legislation, said it'll be one of the biggest pieces of legislation that the state has passed in years to promote public safety. So I was really proud of that. That's something that took me 3 years to get across the finish line, and I was ecstatic when the governor signed it here earlier this year, and that is now current law here in the state of Iowa. And I think the effects of that is the people who are constantly doing what it is that they're not supposed to do, they're going to spend more time in prison. So I think that's probably the best place for them. House File 292. So what this did is it allowed veterans who don't necessarily meet the federal definition of a veteran. Believe it or not, there are varying degrees of veterans. Under the code section, if you don't serve a number of days, the minimum number of days in active duty, even if you went through boot camp and took the same oath as every other veteran in this country, you're not allowed to receive certain benefits. In the state of Iowa, one of those benefits is just getting a veteran's license plate. I had an older gentleman come to me, he signed up, he did 4 years, he took the oath, he went through boot camp, but he just wanted a license plate. He didn't want anything else. Didn't want an ID card, didn't want VA services, he just wanted to be able to get a license plate. So this is something that I took up there. Senator Jeff Reichman and I worked on getting this done on both sides. We got it out of the House, so I was proud of that. It went to the Senate, and it didn't make the funnel over there. Good news is it's out of the House. So this year, we'll be able to pick it up in the Senate and carry that forward, and hopefully we'll be able to get folks who served honorably in the armed forces, regardless of the number of active duty days, at least the opportunity to get a license plate. Another bill was House File 692. So this again pertains to veterans. So historically in this state, we have a lot of nonprofits that like to take veterans out for outdoor recreation activities like hunting. Well, the way the laws are set up in this state is if you get a deer tag, for example, that may only be good for a few days. Unfortunately, a lot of veterans have underlying health conditions that prevent them from hunting in extreme weather periods. So if you get a deer one gun tag, well, it's only good for a few days. If it happens to be 20 degrees and you're a diabetic, disabled veteran with neuropathy, you can't go out and hunt. Well, the following week, it might be 60 degrees. That's a great opportunity for you to go. Unfortunately, your tag's not good anymore, and you're not eligible to buy another one because under the law, you were only allowed to buy one tag a year. So what this bill did is it basically said that if you're a disabled veteran, you can get a tag, and you can use it in any gun season throughout the entire hunting season. You still have to use the same method of take allowed under the law, but it gives them a lot greater flexibility to be able to go out and take part in some of those outdoor activities. House File 2505, I talked to you about that last year. That was a really big Veterans Omnibus benefits package. I'm excited to say that last year we got that out of committee in the House. It's currently being reviewed in the Appropriations Committee, and I look forward to seeing pieces, if not that entire piece of legislation, moving forward in the state of Iowa. It was the largest veterans benefits package this state has ever voted on, so very proud of that. Had a lot of things, education benefits, property tax benefits, assistance programs, prioritization within the judicial system, prioritization with mental health programs, again, to support our state's veterans. House File 466 was something that came from the Burlington Public Library. So it was something new to me. I didn't realize that this was an issue, but ultimately, as we've seen a shift from in-person content, in-person books, a lot of people like to start get their media from online-based programs. Well, in the last 5 to 10 years, the number of fees and the cost of that online electronic media has increased substantially. In some circumstances, I found as much as 600%. And they've placed big limitations on the number of checkouts or the number of times that an item can be checked out entirely, and then you have to go on and you have to purchase it again, like you never purchased it before. So a lot of states have put legislation on the books that really reins in some of those expenses. Ultimately, we have to remember these are property tax dollars. These are property tax dollars that are being allocated by city councils to public libraries that are being used for these fees. And in a lot of circumstances, I feel like the online media content wholesalers are really taking advantage of that shift. So this was a piece of legislation that kind of brings some reins to that. That did not get out of the funnel. It's something I'm committed to working on. It's actually one of my big things I want to try and make some progress on this year in the upcoming session. And then last year I was here and I told you about a complicated education funding formula reform bill that was vitally important to the city of West Burlington. It was something that allowed schools with a large amount of open enrollment population an opportunity to go to the school budget review committee and request additional spending authority of the dollars that they have on hand. We got that legislation after my predecessor and other people who have represented this district have worked on it for the last 12 to 15 years. I was happy to get that done last year. Huge lift. Took a lot of work. Excited to get that done. It was a big thing for the city of West, or for not only the city of West Burlington, but West Burlington School District. Well, what we got done last year was really just a temporary fix. We needed to make sure that we got that legislation permanently in the code into all of the following years. That was a one-year stopgap. I was happy to say that on the last day, I was able to negotiate with the Speaker and other members of the House and the Senate in the standings bill legislation that took the one-year stopgap off of that, made it a permanent piece of the code moving forward. So West Burlington School District ultimately will have the tools necessary to them. They're going to have to make some difficult choices in terms of their enrollment regardless, but they have a lot more tools in the toolbox now so that they can remain financially viable in the future. So very important. 2026 legislative bills that I'm going to work on. So I think property tax is going to be a really big part of this. I served on local government. I was a Burlington City Councilman, as I already said. I understand property taxes very well, and I understand the relationship between providing city services, taking care of your long-term liabilities, but then also making sure that we have downward pressure on property tax rates. Because again, property taxes, they have an impact on the people who pay them. The assessor and the treasurer are seeing that right now. Property tax bills are going out, and people aren't happy. Now, local councils aren't the only ones getting that feedback, so are state legislators. So I think that that's going to be something that we're going to see a lot of work on in this next session. I was proud of the legislature last year. We had a number of iterations of a property tax bill that ultimately, every time we kept bringing something forward and vetting it and working with local governments and working with everybody involved in the process, we just weren't able to come up with something that we felt like was ready to go. And the legislature pumped the brakes on that, said, all right, listen, we're going to go back to the drawing board. We're going to try and take a more holistic approach, get more people to the table, and give us a little bit more time to try and address some of these concerns. So I'm looking forward to seeing that come up this next legislative session. Ultimately, my commitment to you as your legislator is communication. So I will always communicate with your city manager. I'll always reach out to city councils, and I look forward to your feedback. And ultimately, my goal is to try and get a good idea of how the things that we're doing in Des Moines are going to impact you. Okay? And then, if you provide me with feedback, the other thing that I promise you is that feedback will make it to the people who are sitting at the table if I'm not there. And I will make sure that they understand how West Burlington would be positively or negatively impacted by whatever is proposed. Other 2025 legislative policy issues that the legislature completed as a whole. So there were a couple of big ones. One that has been discussed thoroughly is the distracted driving bill. So this is the hands-free bill, as most people have referred to it. I struggled with this one. So I'm very busy, as are probably all of you. And there comes times when I need to take a phone call in the car or need to address something. Should I be doing it? Probably not. Is it the safest thing to do? Absolutely not. But it's just the way we've kind of adapted to live our life here in Iowa, and a lot of people were frustrated with this bill. But ultimately, the data is clear. The data is clear that states that have hands-free driving laws on the books have much fewer distracted driving incidents and traffic accidents. They have less deaths. I'm looking forward to getting the data from public safety and the DOT later this year on the impact that's had. That took effect on July 1st. Now, ultimately, the first few months, there's a period where we're giving out warnings. The citations haven't really kicked in yet. Ultimately, they will. But again, if we can have even half of the impact here in the state of Iowa that other states have had after putting this legislation on the books, we'll be talking about hundreds of lives saved and potentially thousands of accidents that don't take place across this state. So that was something that the legislature took up. It's taken a number of years to get that across the finish line. And I believe it only got 51 votes last year. So it barely made it, but it did. So again, something that personally I'm not super excited about, but as the legislator for this district, it was something that we needed to do. No phones in classrooms was another topic that we took up, and that was House File 782. And ultimately what this did is it directed school districts to come up with a set of rules as to how they're going to govern electronic devices in the classroom. Again, another data-backed piece of policy. The amount of retention that our students have above and beyond if they don't have a cell phone in their hand or they don't have one in their pocket, the efficiency at which teachers are able to provide instruction, all of these things are far better in classrooms that don't have cell phones in them. Obviously, we've seen a significant increase in the number of young people who have cell phones. We've seen a significant increase in the distraction that they provide or create in the classroom. We get that feedback from teachers all the time. And we feel like this piece of legislation gives more teeth to school boards, and they were asking for something, the authority to do something. So what we did is we basically codified it so that they have the ability to come up with these programs to be able to create a safer and more friendly learning environment. Expanding healthcare access in rural Iowa has been incredibly important. Ever since I decided to run for the Iowa House, it was important long before I decided to run for the Iowa House, and I'm excited to say that last year we passed House File 972. What the bill did, well, it did a number of things, but one thing it did is it put $115 million new dollars into residency programs for rural healthcare facilities across the state. In the interest of time, I won't go bore you with how residency programs are funded. It's fairly complex. It's a combination of individual funding, but most of it comes from Medicare. And ultimately, the state of Iowa kind of got the short end of the stick when those dollars were set many, many, many years ago. So one of the problems that we've had is healthcare access. Well, healthcare access is largely driven by the number of residency programs that a state gets. Those $115 million are going to create dozens of new residency programs across the state. Also, we have now loan forgiveness programs for in-demand healthcare positions, things like mental health related, OBGYN access. And ultimately, this package is designed to not only get our state's teaching universities to assist them in training our next wave of healthcare professionals, also incentivizing them in staying in Iowa and working in rural healthcare. I know there's lots of reasons why people say that healthcare providers don't stay in rural Iowa, and there really are lots of reasons. We've seen a number of surveys and gotten lots of feedback, but the largest by far is the fact that we don't have residency programs in rural Iowa. And the biggest fact that I can tell you that I got throughout this conversation is over 70% of residents stay and work within 100 miles of where they did their residence program. If we don't have them, they're not going to stay in rural Iowa. So now we have to entice them, and this type of package is going to do that. So, I think it's also important to recognize that your legislators aren't just working on legislation. We're not just working on policy. And some of the things that we do outside of the legislative session is also constituent services. I tell people all the time, if you've got somebody that is trying to get some assistance with a state program, they're trying to get some guidance, they need connected to a department, they're not seeing follow through on a request or an application, part of our job is to be here to assist them in getting the things done that they need done when it comes to state departments and state services. I spend a lot of my time conversating with constituents, helping them get connected to the right department, and helping them get the things needed completed that they need done in a more timely manner. The number of calls that I get where they've submitted an application and they've been waiting 2 months for something. I'm not going to say that it doesn't take 2 months. It's not my job to dictate or meddle in how they do things in Des Moines, but my job is to make sure that we get a resolution to their request as soon as possible. We have great caucus staff in Des Moines to help us do that, and so far we've got a really good batting average when it comes to getting a solid and quick resolution to a lot of those issues. So if you ever have somebody who needs assistance, that's one of the roles that we have. I have. Something else is help identifying and coming up with solutions to problems here in our community. As all of you are probably well aware, we're replacing the bridge deck on Highway 34 on the Roosevelt corridor. Now that's in the city of Burlington, but I'm sure all of you have driven it in the last 3 or 4 months and noticed that it's under construction. Well, one of the things that was frustrating for me as the legislator is that the DOT is going to come in and do work on a bridge deck that doesn't have a pedestrian crossing. So as soon as the bridge deck was brought up for construction, I reached out to DOT and we engaged in a pretty lengthy but very in-depth conversation about what it would take to get a bridge deck or get a pedestrian crossing added to the bridge deck while we're here doing the work. Ultimately, the conclusion that we came from is that the timing, the engineering, and the current project wasn't set up for a pedestrian crossing to be added. However, what we did get initiated was the commitment from the DOT to do a study and to follow up with plans here in the short term on what we can do to satisfy the need for a pedestrian crossing. I'm sure all of you have seen people crossing that bridge on foot with no pedestrian crossing. It creates a hazard for traffic, it creates a hazard for the pedestrian, and I think as a state we need to be looking for opportunities to be efficient so that we can add those public safety measures and infrastructure upgrades while we're already on site. Unfortunately in this one the timing didn't work out, but I'm confident that here in the next couple of years we're going to see a resolution to that. So that's just one thing that we do outside the legislature. Another thing I want to talk about is the Drop It program. So last year in my meetings towards the end of the year, I was approached and notified that Hope Haven was going to be dropping their can redemption program. Well, recognizing the demand and the need in this community for a place to return your cans, especially if we're going to have that bottle deposit, I immediately went to work. And I started working with our staff in Des Moines. I started reaching out to all of my contacts in the lobby and started researching across the state, what are other cities doing? What are other opportunities that we have? And ultimately, in February, I came across this company called Drop It. So I reached out to them. I talked to one of their representatives, went through kind of our need in our community, talked about the historical services that we've had. They ran through their entire program, how it works, how the money moves around, how nonprofits can be supported, whether or not they were going to be able to have a route down here. And ultimately, I came to the conclusion that what they were saying with what I felt like our need was were perfect. So I reached out to the city of Burlington, spoke with Mayor Billups and Chad Bird, had a conversation with them and explained to them what I had found. And they felt the same way I did. I was able to help get that connection made, and about 3 weeks to a month later, Drop It had signed an agreement with the city of Burlington, and next thing you know, we're able to overcome that issue and fill that need here in this community just through the research that can take place out of my office in Des Moines. So I was proud of that. I also know that West Burlington now has one as well. And I actually just talked to the Drop It representative about a week and a half ago, and I know that they're looking at putting more of those facilities down here in the Southeast Iowa corridor as well. So I think that'll probably be the model in the state moving forward, just because it is expensive to provide those services, but they're incredibly important. So with that, I'd like to open it up for a few minutes. If anybody has any questions, I'll try to be brief, but I wanted to make sure you got a complete comprehensive overview of the 2025 legislative session.
I got one.
Yes.
The privatizing of the prison's health care.
Yep.
What can you tell us?
So the governor has requested a proposal from private organizations to come in to the Department of Corrections and provide all of the medical services that current state employees currently provide. I can tell you that in my opinion, there are some issues with it. What I can also tell you is that it's not a legislative issue because the governor has unilateral power to be able to do that. Now, I can also tell you that it's happened in the interim. We're not in session, but I fully expect for us to talk about it when we get back into session. I don't believe that she's made a decision yet on which route she's going to move forward with. Ultimately, I'm not in healthcare. I also don't work for DOC. So the feedback I get comes from correctional officers inside the facilities, it comes from wardens, it comes from people who work in those medical offices. But then I also look to the governor for her information on why she feels like this might be the right route to go. And I promise you that when we get into the legislative session, we're going to continue to have conversations about it. But the way that the law is written currently, it does not require legislative action for that to take place.
One quick item. Tax increment financing, but specifically LMI. IFA and IDA are in support of standardizing the LMI percentage from 20 to 30%, somewhere around there, and or increasing the usage or what LMI can be used for, housing specifically. So I just would encourage you to consider that during the legislative session. I'm sure we'll be in touch, but Debbie Durham said she was strongly in support of that as well. So I'd encourage you to support that.
That's something actually that came up. I can remember my first debate running for this, and I proposed that at that time.
Yep.
So if we can take those LMI dollars, which are set aside for those projects, and use those to increase the volume of workforce housing in this state, that's a great win. Yep. So, any other questions? Okay. Well, again, thank you very much for letting me go first, and I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you. I will, as I have always, reach out here probably in the next month or so and invite the city of West Burlington to sit down, have a more one-on-one conversation. We can go through all of the things that are important to you guys that you want to make sure that we're working on, and dive a little bit deeper and spend some more time kind of walking through those things. So, again, I appreciate it, and I will see you next year.
Thank you much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
move into council and staff reports, so our administrator?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple things. Signage at the trailhead, it's in on a note. Typically, that's referred to as Gear Avenue Trail. Did anybody object to that? I know I had a couple that responded, so I'm just going to respond to Chris with Gear Avenue Trail. I think that's what everybody knows it as. Klinger is working on construction easements and permanent easements for the water and the force main on the Raider property, and specifically related to transportation company.
Food liner.
Food liner. Thank you. As well, there's a couple shut-offs that we'd be looking at doing as well, and trying to get some of that cleaned up, and might have to do a little potholing. But so we're working on that as well. Food liner is paying for that work, related to the easement and construction easement. I talked to Jesse Howe about continuing and taking a look at the parking lot and the grading plan that's necessary for the trailhead to get an idea of what that would cost. I'll bring that back for council consideration, and that would include the what do you want to call it, the large hole that's over there as well, based on the plan that we have over here. But I'll bring that back to council at the appropriate time. The TAP and the FRT grants were submitted for Agency Street. Those are done now and submitted. And evaluations as soon as possible, I'd appreciate it. And is 5 o'clock or 5:15 okay to do that? If we need to extend it after the meeting at the next one, we can. I just wanted to confirm the best time to start that.
What?
The eval. It was due Friday, John.
You're talking the 15th?
On the 15th? Yep.
By 15.
It can be extended to the meeting after the meeting too, if you need more time, but.
I could do 5 or 5:15, whatever.
Any objections to that? Okay. Very good. Thank you.
How long does it take to, like on a grant for agency, for the response on stuff like that?
Depends on the grant. They have a due date. I don't recall FRT off the top off my head, but it's typically, I'll say 3 months. Off the top of my head, I don't know. Stormwater, does that sound right? But stormwater grants are a little bit more complicated. They involve FEMA or IDNR, but typically maybe 3 months.
Thank you, Greg.
September, October, sometime. I think was for the SRT, for example.
Greg, did you find out anything going forward on the piping in the ditch at the trail?
I talked to Chase today. He's gonna take a look at it for us. So see if we can't get at least get that piece in there, and then begin working on the grading, et cetera. But I'll bring those numbers back to council. But Chase is going to take a look at it. They're focused on the 4 water hydrants right now. They've run into a couple of problems that they'll be working on over the next week or so. But yes, we will look at the numbers to get
I
that back in.
appreciate that, thank
Yep.
you. The stop sign at the train tracks.
Stop sign, Kelly's pulling back up the information that we talked about that today, that she had found related to the railroad, and I'll take a look at that and let you know what I find.
Yeah, up on, it's the only track that doesn't have something on it, you know, needs.
No objection, just need to follow the process.
Chase?
Thank you.
We've just been working on the fire hydrants on Van Wees. We were gonna replace them all today, and ran into a problem with some water valves not working. So we have to kill the water to the school. So next week we're gonna work after hours when they're out of school and do them all at once. Probably Tuesday or Wednesday next week. I did a walkthrough with Snyder to get Long Meadow water main, starting to get it designed, and then I also walked through with them on Mount Pleasant Street for next year. So they're hopefully gonna come back with something at the end of the week, they said, or next week for those two. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Couple things, from last meeting, we got a meeting scheduled with the hospital. Myself and Sergeant Melson is gonna go out and meet with, Dr. McCoy and Mr. Hutchinson and a couple other of their team next week. So I'll report back with what we find out there. Applications close this Friday for the police department, and next week is fire prevention for the fire department up at school. So you'll see trucks, we'll do fire alarm tests and evacuation and all that for that, so.
Okay, thank you. Kelly?
Chief, can you get us a breakdown on the time we spent at the hospital?
I can provide you, we're working on that already of the calls. I can't really tell you how long we spend there without putting a lot of time into it, but we're gonna do the 2024 and 2025 of the calls and break them down. We've had it once, but we're gonna break it down a little bit further than what we found before, so between each campus.
Walmart was our number one for police responses, and then
Awesome.
hospital was number two. Walmart were significantly the highest by far, but hospital was number two.
And your
On that-
discussion, go ahead.
I'll say on that, Greg, with Walmart, I know you talked to them a month or so ago about helping on security. Has there any follow-up to that?
I'm still in touch with them. We're talking about a couple issues. We've got the bollards were installed. He had a question about a stop sign as you come in off of Broadway. With the best solution, they have some accidents there as well, and people running into signage. Looking at possible four-way there, which I guess was there a number of years ago, and bringing that back. And they're connecting me up with the grant folks because I've had trouble getting into that system as well. And he's following up with their upper echelon on supporting West Burlington too. So we'll continue to stay in touch. So.
Okay, cool. Sorry, Ringo, you were going to say something?
I was just going to ask, when you have your meeting next week with administrators, is it going to be more on discussion, not just responding, but what are your expectations of them assisting and
Yes.
including their security?
Yeah. I talked with Permar today. They came up from their headquarters down in Quincy, and we spoke about the hospital with them and came up with some plans with them, and then we're going to pass that on next week.
Thank you, Councilman Cronin, for initiating that conversation last week. It was much appreciated.
I'm glad to hear you're jumping on it. I appreciate it.
Kelly, anything from you? Okay. Angie, anything? Nope, all right. Go to the council. Melanie, you want to go first?
Couple things. One, on October 18th, we have the Alzheimer's Walk in West Burlington, starting from the mall. If anybody wants a sign to put in their yard promoting it, I've got some. But anyway, that's coming up. Thank you. All right, super.
I'll take
Thanks.
I'll take one.
Second thing, Greg, great article on the planting for the future again.
Thank you.
That you sent out to us yesterday, and like to maybe, can we get that, is it on the Facebook page already, city Facebook page?
Yes.
If not, time to do it again. Nice article, well written, thank you.
Thank you.
It makes the city look good. Yesterday I attended or Monday, I think, the Roosevelt Corridor Input Meeting down at River Park Place. Looked like good attendance from the community, and a number of West Burlington folks were there, so got some input on that, and just looking at the comments that were made, they backed up each other. So many people to think the same, but you got to repeat the message. And one of them being a pedestrian crossing over Highway 34 that Matt just talked about. Others via that method, people care about how people walk. So anyway, the input session seemed like to go well, and it is our chance to be at the table, so show up. There's another time for input, November 12th, so keep your eyes open, ears open for that coming up. And yep, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Therese?
I don't have anything.
Okay. John?
I'll pass.
All right.
Pass, thank you.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay. The only thing I had to say would be to echo what you'd said, Melanie. It seemed like there was quite a few people down there, and many of them had some of the very same ideas on what they'd like to see happen with the Roosevelt corridor. So, thank you. And we shall move on to any citizen inquiries. See none. We have no old business. We'll go to our first item of new business, which is on your listing, number 5. Considering a resolution in support of utilizing TIF to support the construction of a workforce housing development project.
Your Honor, we have Kevin Fitro. Oh, I need to shrink that. Apologize. On the line with us tonight. With Panther Development, partner with Merge. In your packet, and Kevin's more than happy to answer any questions, are some kind of a breakdown of the project overview, financial overview, and some additional considerations, information that Kevin has provided to the city. And I wanted you to have that information, be able to answer any questions you might have. But specifically, tonight's resolution is essentially seeking council concurrence, which council already acted on back on May 21st. But specifically, moving forward, preparation and adoption of the urban renewal plan amendment, which we have several items to add to, not just this item. And then specifically, that will include a blight finding for this project that will allow us to better utilize TIF in this case, and then preparation of the actual TIF agreement. But this resolution will help Kevin and move forward with closing on the property. Now that we have the Workforce Housing Tax Credit Award. And Kevin can answer any questions on the tax credits that you might have or on the project itself. And with that, I'll leave it there. Kevin, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, just wanted to, again, as we said at the May meeting, we're excited, to be working with the city of West Burlington. As Greg said, the tax credit was approved. We did win that award for 19 homes, which was the first of the contingencies in place with the offer on the land. Second was coming into a partnership on TIF with the city. So I'm here to answer any questions, and just wanted to say we're excited to look to move forward.
I believe I'm amiss. I should have asked for a motion and a second so we could technically discuss this. So.
Motion to discuss the housing.
Well, actually, you're making the motion to approve the
resolution.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Yes, thank you.
Workforce housing support project.
Motion and support. So I'm sorry about not getting that in ahead of time.
And since I started talking, I'll ask my question.
Sure.
Like the summary detail you provided to us, a question on why is it a two-car detached garage? Why aren't the garages attached? It just seems, I think they sell better what people want.
Well, so we are looking at working with Homes for Iowa on the project. Homes for Iowa builds the home off-site and then brings it in. So we have to put in the foundation for the home, foundation for the garage. The home comes sited already. We could make it an attached, but we'd have to take the siding off and redo some of the truss work. So it makes it more expensive to do that way. The other with this is we've seen, as we've looked at some of Homes for Iowa's projects, we've seen both attached and detached and thought it looked really good and the use of space to have a little patio area between the garage and the home allows for a little courtyard feel. So we feel like we could do it either way, but if we did it detached, as you see, we could make it look very good and be very useful.
Okay, thank you. And then are these foundations, are they basements or are they just slab?
Yes, full basements.
Full basements under all of them?
Yes, so you would be able to finish the basement. The homes come at about 1,200 to 1,300 square feet, and then you would have a full basement underneath, so you could probably finish another 800 square foot downstairs.
So are those built with egress windows, so
Yes.
bedrooms can be put down there, gotcha.
Yes, yep,
So theory, you could make it a 5-bedroom house, a 3-bedroom.
Could.
Put 2 in the basement.
good,
Okay.
yep,
All right, just sounds more, that sounds better. Let's say, hey,
Yeah.
go 3 to 5
Yep.
bedrooms. And
yep,
then,
absolutely.
And just in response to that question too, Mike Norris, who's current president for the Homes for Iowa program, as well as with regional planning, will be here on the 5th. And we're going to talk about several different housing-related items, but specifically the Homes for Iowa program and the options related to homes. So just FYI.
and since Greg brought that up, I happen to have a flyer with the Homes for Iowa layouts of the homes. And looks like they work with 4 different layouts usually. Or do you know what layouts you work with, or will all the house be identical, like cookie cutter one to the other, or?
Well, we're looking at the Springfield, which is the long, narrow. We would look at some of the others. It just depends on lot size.
Okay.
A couple of their units, if you look, are very wide units, which make it a little more difficult on the lot with the 2-car garage. So we would, we'll kind of finalize which floor plans as we move along with the development of the lots.
So you'll look at the lot and see what looks right? I guess with a
Correct.
with
Correct.
a detached garage, you got more flexibility too with that.
Yes, yep,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
Anyone else?
If I could just make a couple comments. We went through the huge comp plan process, and we all pointed to this lot as a place we'd love to see be residential in the future. And I know we had a lot of discussions back then about how that would be possible, and this is exactly how it's possible. It would need a state grant with some TIF funding help from us. That's not an area that would be easily developed. It wouldn't be looked at for mini homes that are being made today. A developer wouldn't look at that lot as their number one choice. And so I think getting this deal done and bringing in Merge to do this and getting the grant approved through the state, these are huge wins for us. It'll change that whole area of our city for the next 50 years. So this is a pretty, yeah, so this is a pretty big win. So, Greg, I know you were instrumental in bringing Merge in and showing them around, and so you should be commended for that. So thank you for your work, and excited to see that whole area be built.
Looking forward to working with Kevin with Panther and Brent with Merge and get this project done. I think it's a great project for the community, and appreciate them jumping on board so quickly with the application. That was really, really key. So I appreciate that.
Could you explain a little bit more details on just how that tax credit works?
I am not a tax credit expert, but I did let Kevin know that you might ask that question.
Yes, so the tax credit is actually 2 parts. One is a per unit reimbursement for units built. The other is sales tax credit reimbursement. So if you spend $100,000 on materials and you have 7% tax on those materials, you can request reimbursement for that. None of the credits are put through and finalized until we get the final certificate of occupancy. So we have to finish the project, complete the last unit, get its occupancy permit, then we can put all of our paperwork together and file for the tax credits with the state. So usually if, depending on how long it takes, that's why they do give you a 3-year window to build the project out, because you can't get the credits until after it's completely done.
And the tax credit goes where?
Tax credit comes to us as the developer.
To the developer.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Kevin, one more question. The Homes for Iowa home that we have in West Burlington now, do you know what style that is? Or Greg, do you know? Just speak for a visual.
I don't recall, but it is a detached garage.
Yeah, it is, exactly, yeah.
Kevin,
For point of reference.
you guys did a project in Donaldson, correct?
Not that I'm familiar with.
Was it, maybe it was Brent with Merge?
Might have been Brent.
Might have been Brent. I believe that Brent had done a project in Donaldson using the Homes for Iowa program. It might be a good opportunity to do a field trip or take a look, or I could try to track down some photos. It'd be kind of a similar project.
It's fine, I just thought if we knew what that style was, that we could say, yeah, that's what these will look like, or not.
But
Yep, yeah, I'm not
Mike will
familiar
have
with
that information.
Mike will have that in November, okay.
Yep,
thank
and Mike
you.
was involved in that project as well.
Thank you.
So.
Seeing no further questions? Thank you, and we'll call for a vote.
Crowner,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you for participating, Kevin, and for the project itself. Look forward to it.
Oh, no, thank you, and Greg, thank you for all your support and work on it.
Thank you much.
Council, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 2, presentation of stormwater master plan from Bolton Mink.
I hope I don't do this because I have a similar type of name, but Ryan Benajuris? See, just screwed up. Ryan with Bolton and Mink is here tonight to talk about the stormwater infrastructure master plan that we've been working on. We did not include the 2,000 pages of backup material, but you did have those in a prior email sent out in one of my updates. If you're more than happy to dig into all of the detailed work that was done as part of this project. So with that, I'm going to let Ryan take over and run through the stormwater infrastructure program and plan. And tomorrow we are meeting with Chris Lee with the county.
Des Moines County.
To do the,
Isaac Walton.
Isaac Walton, calling it as well, which that's on the presentation.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Y'all hear me? Yes?
No, super.
No.
Thank you.
It's a common issue for me.
Thank you.
Yes. So Ryan Bench-Gers, I'm Water Resources Engineer at Bolton and Mink. I had the opportunity to lead our development of this master plan. And so I'm going to try to keep it brief. I want to save a lot of time for questions, but please just pause me if you'd like me to cover anything in more detail here. I'm going to kind of skim through a lot of it. I also want to say one thing that's been apparent in working through this plan is just the knowledgeable staff. Greg's been great. Chase and your staff have accompanied us on site, which has been wonderfully helpful. Okay. So there's a lot of detail in the report. I mean, we did a full hydraulic analysis, looked at pretty much all the watersheds within town. We identified deficiencies in the existing system, and we developed recommendations and estimated the capital costs for each of those improvements, and provided this planning document. As you're probably aware, there are 2 primary watersheds within town, one on the western side and one on the eastern side that drains through ultimately Lures Park, underneath the concrete plant and into Isaac Walton Lake. And that is the one that we focused most of our attention on as far as recommendations. There's 1,100 acres. A lot of the issues we saw: inadequate outlet conditions, undersized storm sewer, a lack of detention upstream, and lack of infrastructure, meaning that there are several neighborhoods that just don't even have branch sewer lines to feed the main. So, there's a lot of work that could be done. I think we really honed in on 7 larger scale improvements to the infrastructure main lines, channel improvement opportunities, locations where we could conceivably add significant detention facilities to lower peak flows and reduce flooding. And then we also identified the one big project outside of city limits, which is Isaac Walton Lake. And each of our results we're presented as though we can make the Isaac Walton Lake happen. Go ahead, yeah, please.
No, I'll wait till you're done.
Okay. I want to say that the lake project is kind of, it unlocks the potential of a lot of the others. And so there's some benefits to be had by doing the projects within town, but they're all going to be limited in benefit until that lake gets done. So I kind of already talked about this. Our goal here is to lower the lake level about 3 to 5 feet. It's currently above the railroad pipe crossing, and so it backs water up. It leads to a lot of sedimentation, and you need that driving head within town to push water through, and it's causing a lot of flooding, especially on that Mount Pleasant corridor. It's worth noting that it's not just the lake restoration, but the culvert under the railroad is also in disrepair, extremely sedimented, and I'd love to look at opportunities to address that, but I know that's complex with the railroad.
How big is that culvert?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it was about 6 by 5.
Oh, so
I
big.
think it goes from closer to, what was it, 10 by 10 or 7 by 7 down to 6 by 6, something like that.
I have it here.
I'm pretty sure it's bigger than 6, at least in a portion of it.
Big enough for a porta potty.
I'm just trying to visualize what we're talking about.
7 by 8, excuse me. Yep. 7 by 8, under the concrete plant.
Thank you.
And then technically under the railroad is a 6.5-foot diameter culvert.
Thank you.
So the box culvert empties into a circular culvert that goes under the railroad.
Smaller than it is.
A little bit smaller, yeah.
It's backwards.
Yeah,
What's that?
that's backwards.
It's backwards
Oh,
on
ye-
how
oh,
one
yes.
would choose to do it.
Yeah. Well, we hope we can get that addressed. Within Lewis Park, we identified the opportunity to regrade and increase capacity within 1,000 linear feet of channel. And this is twofold. I mean, one, it increases the capacity, which is going to reduce flooding within Lewis Park. But I think more importantly, it's going to lower the flow line elevation to accommodate a lot of the improvements that we're looking to accomplish upstream, to tie those into the new lowered channel. We identified the opportunity to add 6 acre-feet of storage within the West Burlington Community Park area. And again, adding this detention helps to reduce the downstream flow and accordingly reduce flooding. Similar opportunity at 510 East Agency Road. I believe that's the GE facility. Is that right?
ABV?
ABE?
Old GE, ABV?
Old GE. Gotcha. My bad.
Nope.
But a similar opportunity there with nearly 9 acre-feet there. And yet one more at Pennington and Roar, the opportunity to add 10 acre-feet of storage.
Does that take into consideration the new housing development we just talked about?
No, no.
It would be good to take that into
Yes,
consideration.
I agree. I was not aware at the time of this study.
Although we have talked to them a little bit, staff has talked to them a little bit about how we can make that work, because Lot 19 is in the corner there of that property, but there are opportunities probably a little bit further to the left where that star is on that page to create some detention or to do some other treatments as well. So we have engaged in those conversations as well. Originally with Schwenkers and now with Panther and Merge, so.
Sure. And
It's still an appropriate solution. The location might have to be adjusted, and there are a few other things you could do there as well, so, but still on point.
Could you describe, take the ABB property, for example, when you say 8.8 acre feet of storage, Could you describe
Yeah.
the storage you're talking about?
Yeah, I think a common way to visualize that is just a detention pond, but it doesn't have to be. We can look at wetland opportunities, underground detention. But you think detention pond, and when we say 8.8 acre feet, that's our volume, which to visualize would be 8.8 acres, 1 foot depth, or 1 acre, 8.8 feet of depth. So that volume of water is what we're determining is needed to have these benefits to reduce flooding.
Trees absorb a huge amount of water in this location. Obviously on private property, but the folks that we've talked to have been willing to work with us. That culvert's also broken in the back there as well, before you go underneath the highway. So that concrete culvert, but that's an ideal location for some type of improvement.
So could you describe, going from where it's at today to what you're describing, what needs to happen to that land? Just physically go in and dig it out?
Likely, yes, likely. That would be part of a next phase. So it kind of related to your question too, we put a silly star on the map to indicate that we've not dug into the level of detail to actually fit it and grade it to the site. We know it should fit within the space. We're not trying to show that it will or won't impact a housing development. We're not trying to show how many trees are going to need to be cleared at this time. But yes, generally it's going to be some sort of excavated facility with the berm and with associated storm sewer outlet structures. Okay. Tree clearing, access roads, maintenance paths to continue to maintain it long term.
Okay. Where's that water coming from for that? That seems like it's out of place to me.
And that doesn't show up great, but it's coming from that upstream facility.
Like from the GE park, the ABB parking lot, the concrete parking lot. And
yes.
Across the street, across the agency, and from that direction as well. It's taking a ton of water.
Coles parking lot maybe also?
It's taking a ton of Coles, yes, Coles should be included in that, but it goes across the agency and into the business park area as well.
Right.
It takes a ton of water from that entire area to the south of the ABB facility, south and southwest.
Everything on agency would be going the other direction, right? The water on the coal side, or the lows, and that would be going north. This will only be...
Right. Yeah. So we had agency as the watershed boundary. So south of agency is going south. And so this facility here is taking water from this area. And I would have to go back and I'd have to get my computer out to tell you the number of acres that are feeding that.
There's a substantial amount of hard surfacing.
It's a lot of hard surfacing, yes.
Right.
The GE and the coal.
I apologize.
Basically the old GE place, and
Coles and that whole area in there, there's a substantial amount of hard surfacing.
That's right, yeah. And we have the ability to have a smaller outlet and a bigger pond to hold back enough water. So I want to make clear, like, the size of the detention is not necessarily proportional to the size of its watershed. We have the ability to restrict or open up the outlet to get the storage we need, if that makes sense. If you're kind of identifying the fact that this is one of the larger basins with one of the smaller watersheds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Right.
We've got some pictures, if you recall, from that presentation we did a few years ago. I mean, just driving out there, you can see the amount of water that there's
Is that
throughout the entire community.
is that like a 1 in 100 year thing, or is that?
Well, if you recall that one wet year, what was that, 3 years ago now, 2 years ago now? We either had long, heavy rains, or we had downpours that were, where we had, 6, 7 inches of rain in a very short amount of time. I mean, so it was really two, where we were getting long, heavy rains for a substantial amount of time, where we were getting downpours, so a significant amount of water coming in a very short amount of time, causing significant flooding.
But that's not the norm. That's just
Well,
once in every.
it may be the new norm.
It's becoming more normal, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I should have noted earlier, each of these 3 ponds works in series. So the one eventually is going to drain to the other one that's been proposed, will drain to the next one proposed, and will drain through Lewis Park.
So the projects are listed in kind of, do the 0, 1 first, and the 1, then the 2, then, so that you're feeding.
Yes, that's right.
Okay,
That's
all right,
right.
thank you.
And that's not to say you couldn't address them out of order, but that was kind of a logical way to stage it.
Thank you.
Okay. And then along the Pennington Street storm sewer corridor, we had identified a lot of undersized storm sewer there, the need to upsize those pipes. And we also recommend rerouting the outlet on Pennington to go into the future detention facility right here that's proposed. In doing that alleviates flooding on the downstream storm sewer system. If we can reroute it, detain it, we're kind of multiplying our benefit this way.
Take that star and move it slightly to the northwest is probably a good location if you're focused on the star, so.
Also, do we have pipes that are not within our right-of-way then over in the East Houston Street area?
We did not look at that level of detail.
Okay,
We didn't map it
okay.
within right of way or not, unless Chase or Greg.
I'd have to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be pretty easy to find. We have a stormwater layer.
It would be simple to determine. We were simply looking at capacity at
Okay.
this time, yeah. And it's important to note too that the cost goes up almost an order of magnitude once you start looking at the storm sewer infrastructure, the associated street repairs, and other utility conflicts that go with this type of project. Very similar on Houston Street, upsizing pipe. There was some pipe on Houston that was on private property, which maybe is what you were asking me.
Yes, really what I was
Okay,
asking,
I'm
yes.
sorry, yes,
Yeah.
I understand your question. And so this proposal, I can show you here, would aim to abandon the sewer in people's backyards and instead reroute it through public right-of-way. And then similarly, this Houston's system would tie into that, that detention facility, Project 4. And then the last one we looked at was the need to extend and upsize pipe from Pennington up towards Pat Klein Park. And we thought there was the opportunity there to add some marginal storage within the park, less than an acre foot, but still helpful to reduce the pipe size required. So when we look at the priorities, I think Isaac Walton Lake is certainly the top priority, just because of its ability to, like I shared earlier, unlock the benefits of the other projects. Then I think we want to turn attention to the detention improvements, and they could be done in really any order after the Lewis Park channel improvements. I think that one's necessary to get it lower so that you can build the others and drain through it.
Question?
Yes.
But couldn't you do something like the detention on the ABB site to help slow the water down in the short term?
Yes, you're right. Yes. I'm thinking more the ones downstream of that
Okay.
are going to be dependent on lowering the storm sewer.
Yes.
But yes, you're right. There's a lot of nuance to it, and you could make it work to construct in almost any order. But I think the reason that we're recommending these detention facilities as a priority is because they're relatively cost-effective compared to the other projects. you get a lot of benefit for that cost. And I think in a lot of cases, you can make them work by introducing other ancillary benefits such as the nutrient reduction, park space, that can qualify them for some cost share opportunities through the state and make them yet more affordable. When we're talking about the infrastructure improvements, that's a big budget to go and knock out in as one project. And I think our hope there is that that just stays top of mind as you work through other infrastructure. If you're going to replace a block of road, reference the plan and let's get it upsized while you're there. There might be the opportunity to apply for the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program funds that could cover some of that, but those programs are very competitive.
But we have applied, we applied for the previous program that was, that we were essentially awarded and canceled across the country. And then the DNR submitted our $160,000 application for hazard mitigation funds to take the next step with Isaac Walton Lake for design or engineering and preliminary design for that aspect of it so that we could apply for those FEMA funds. And Ryan has a new, the gentleman I've been working with has left, and Ryan has a new contact.
Oh, yeah.
For me as well on the hazard mitigation funds, and we're going to follow up with that gentleman too, at DNR, so.
Yes, yeah, that just came up this morning.
Yes.
And so I will get you Jim's contact information.
Yep.
Oops. Really, we've talked a lot about this already, but as far as our action items from here, we've already taken steps to engage Chris Lee with Des Moines County Conservation and seek a collaborative project and some state funding to try to both dredge Isaac Walton Lake. I know just in casual conversations with Chris, he has a vision for the lake too, to make it more accessible and make it more of an amenity. And so we're going to try to work through that, make that a win-win project for everybody. Second action item would be to obtain that FEMA grant, run the cost-benefit analysis to qualify for the funding. Thirdly, like I kind of talked about with the detention projects, I certainly view those as more shovel-ready. I think you have better access to the land. They're more affordable in cost. Again, the state funding. So just try to advance any and all of those that you can, while then continuing to upgrade storm sewer within the Houston-Pennington corridors as the opportunity presents itself. So I will stop there and then happy to address any further questions.
We'll be meeting with Chris Lee, or a phone call, I think it is tomorrow, or is it meeting? Either one. But I assume we'll probably need to do a presentation with the County Conversation Board next as well, just FYI.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. And it can be in person.
And the county. I think it's a call tomorrow morning, right? We can talk about it later.
We talk about it, yeah. I'll still be here, so.
Okay.
But any other questions?
So, the agency and Broadway, I think that's it, where the old air gas place was, that floods if you take a piss. I'm sorry, it just floods in any kind of a rain.
Sure.
Did we look
Harbor
at that
Freight
at all?
Corner, across the street, yeah.
It's been better.
It's-
I mean,
They
they
got
really
fixed.
have done quite a lot of work on that.
That parking lot floods if it rains any amount of.
After the 60-inch pipe was installed, I don't see it
Yeah.
as often. It used to, every
I mean, I know it
minimal
used to
rain you
really
got
bad.
flood.
I think it's better.
It used to go in the building. Now it just covers half the parking lot.
Right. It certainly has been improved since that 60-inch stormwater pipe was installed back in,
Years ago.
sometime after I left. We started the project when I was here, but that the stormwater there, we used to have problems across the street too, where that metal grate used to be, going from Staples over to the car wash. There used to be that metal grate in there too. We used to have a significant flooding issue there. And now that goes from that, basically that corner well, over to the mobile home park and back and down, and follows the system back in there, so.
But seriously, that parking lot floods with just any kind of a rain. I mean, maybe not,
I don't think,
but I mean, and
severity.
it's a lot better than it used to be. Don't get me wrong there.
There were some recent issues on the opposite side causing some of these issues, and that was the grading of that, the ditches, which would be on the southeast corner, which have been improved within the past year. They've done work there. They've done work further along Broadway as well, because those were backed up and not flowing properly. And that work has been done now, and things seem to be substantially improved since they made those improvements on the southeast corner of that intersection.
Near the bakery.
Bakery, yes. On both sides of the bakery, and then further down on Broadway as well. You've seen a lot of improvements there. These projects are dealing with substantial quantities of water. These are major issues here that we're talking about. Right. But they're all important. But, for example, the homes along Highway 61, working with DOT, I've talked to those folks as well. There hasn't been any water, to my knowledge, in any of those basements since we've been working with DOT to make those improvements, where they dug that back out to, and I think they have a little bit more work to do, but dug it back out to its original grade when highway went through there. So that was a cooperative effort with DOT. Now we need to tackle some of these larger problems before it becomes more of an issue for the larger community.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned earlier, it's been nice having a drought as far as flooding for the last couple of years. But it does just take that one time, and a lot of people are impacted from a major flood event. And so I think that's why there's continued urgency.
Railroad hadn't been able to get into that culvert for 12 or 13 years. This was the first time during this study within this past year that they were able to even get in that culvert to take a look at it and inspect it. They hadn't been able to inspect it for 12 or 13 years.
And I'll mention there's some mechanisms that could be pursued to kind of force some action on the railroad culvert. There's drainage districts that exist. They're much more common in rural settings, but they could be applied to city settings, and they're actually landowner led and funded by landowners, but they have the historic legal authority to force drainage improvements on downstream property, including railroads. It's been done.
I like the way this guy thinks. Let's do that.
It's an undertaking, but it's an option.
It's an approach, yeah.
It's an approach, yeah. And that it's mentioned in the report. I'd be happy to get in more detail about it if it's something that is warranted. But I think we start with the lake and the railroads there.
I can always send it out again, but you do have a copy of that. That doesn't include the 2,000 pages of
just data. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say, though, is the data supports what people kind of thought anyway, anecdotally, at least as my listening to folks who, it makes sense. No surprises like, oh gosh, the water's coming from over here, or what do we need to fix? Mike Brissy told me what we need to fix is how we get the water from Laurel's over to Isaac Walton 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I think he was right, is what this tells.
Yes, that's the first issue. That's the most glaring issue. There are other issues and opportunities, but that's the most glaring one, yeah.
It's not going to fix everything, but it's a big start.
Yeah. And, I'll mention too, just quickly, that we modeled this. We looked at our measure of success in this case was taking and eliminating flooding during a 5-year and a 10-year storm throughout this area. So that was kind of the goal. That was the benchmark. is these improvements are seeking to eliminate ponded water at a lot of these trouble areas during that 5-year and 10-year event. Now, the 100-year event is still going to have some flood-related issues. It's almost impossible to eliminate flood risk, but it significantly reduces the flood risk and associated damages during that 100-year flood. So that was our benchmark.
Ponded water and basements, but for the work that Public Works does during those storms, occasionally putting out 5 or 6 different pumps, those houses would be backing up with water.
Right, yeah. Yeah, ponded water leads to water in basements because high groundwater and, yeah. Any other questions? Okay,
If not, thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Item number 3, we're considering a resolution obligating funds from the incremental property tax revenue for appropriation to the payment of an economic development payment obligation to Campus Community Developers LLC.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Seeing none. Call for vote.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Covert,
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Number 4, consider a resolution obligating funds from the incremental property tax revenues for appropriation to the payment of an economic development payment to the Greater Burlington Partnership, $6,000.
So moved. Support.
Motion and support. Discussion?
Just a reminder, these are going to be some of the formal steps that we take every year on some of these individual agreements that need to be approved on an annual basis, and then the TIF report and the urban renewal report will be coming forward on the 15th, was it?
The what?
TIF and urban renewal? We're doing that on the 15th?
Of November.
Is it November? Okay,
Yeah, it has to.
thanks.
We'll call for the vote.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Covert,
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Seeing no citizen inquiries, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.